Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, back with some league racing on F1 2020 here today, and you can see by this graphic here, this is a very, very big race in this TSRL championship. We arrive at Mexico, where I have the chance to win back-to-back championships in this league, and yeah, very nervous coming into this race. Was not at a good time as well, where I was in the middle of moving house, keep on going back and forth, so I didn't really get the chance to practice or prepare the way I would like. And this would probably be my last race on this rig as well for TSRL, although I actually think it's certain that it actually was. So I really wanted to win the championship today at Mexico, where last season in 2019 I almost did it at Mexico, but ended up going to Brazil. I really like this track, although I struggle on the one that pace in the race. I feel it's one of my strongest tracks in the race, and it's a track where you have to minimize the penalties, because if you don't, you're going to be punished massively. And a lot of people say, oh, people only win without getting penalties and stuff. My question to those people is that it's easy to be fast getting penalties, but it's very hard to be fast without getting penalties. That's the thing I would say to people, and I think it's true, because it's really not easy to keep a decent pace and keep it within the track limits. And I know that's something is one of my strengths, definitely for sure, is mainly the consistency, race pace, keeping it clean, and just putting a whole race together is usually what I'm best at. But you can see we got through Q1 pretty okay here as we invalidated our first laps, but the good thing is you can actually do 2 laps on one tyre. The way the setup is set up and the ERS, it kind of allows you to back off and then go for another lap, because you don't really lose too much time doing a second run on the same set of tyres. So this is my run in Q2. Invalidated the first corner like I did in Q1. So going through into this time, you can see the delta from the previous lap. We back off after these couple of corners, so you see it's about to go green quite a bit here as we get a pretty safe turn 1, 2 and 3. On this game, you really have to cut those corners to really maximize the lap time. You just have to completely risk it, and like everyone knows, it's no secret really, qualifying isn't my main thing. It's not my strength or anything whatsoever. It's always been in the race itself, and the car setup today I felt was extremely good for the race. I had a game plan coming into this, just tried to really figure out what the best strategy was going to be for me. So I always had this in mind. So on this lap here, I am pushing really not to the absolute maximum, to probably about 90-95%, just making sure I get a solid, good, clean lap on the ball. Clean being the key word. It's a 13.1, and you're probably wondering why am I showing this. This is because at this point I'm really thinking about the grid position and the strategy ahead, as you're about to hear now. I feel like not going out. Because then I wear fresh softs. And I'm going to stay in. Because if these soft tires, I'm going to risk it. I've got no time now anyway. I'm going to stay. Alternate strat is good around here, so now I'm going to stay. Yeah. Yeah, I could have gone out again, and I think I would have got through, but there's no point. Yeah, I could have done a 12 quite easy, but then I would have had, for the race, yeah, I would have had I would have to do 1 lap in Q3 as my lap. If I used 2 sets of tyres, I wouldn't have any fresh softs for the race. I would have to go on soft, medium, soft with no fresh softs. And fresh softs are very OP around here, so I've got 2 fresh softs now, so, yep. So as you just heard there, really thinking about the race strategy, because in my opinion, around this circuit, grid position isn't really that important. What's important is the race strategy, and what I really wanted was to start on the mediums and have 2 sets of fresh soft tyres, because if you go into Q3 and you just keep on using your soft tyres, you're not going to have any new ones for the race, and they are extremely beneficial if you can. As I'm watching Q3 now, Leopard only P5 in the end.
I'm next to Perondi again. This man, I can't get away from. Last 3 races, I am next to him again. I'm always next to this guy, every time.
And as you hear there, just having a bit of a laugh because I'm always next to Perondi. But to be honest, I feel I'm in the perfect starting position, because I could have gone into Q3, gone out again on another set of softs, and then used 1 set of softs. But the thing is, if I didn't do a good lap, because I think everyone on qualifying speed is just so fast on this game now, and especially around this track, this is definitely not my strongest suit. It's always the race, and especially around here, it just doesn't make sense for me to risk not having fresh softs and then to qualify P10 or something like that. P11 is so much better, starting on the mediums, having 2 fresh softs for the race. So I feel I'm in a really good position here. Probably the perfect position to be in, and see, Leopard is not that far up the road, so my main focus now is just making sure I can stay with these soft riders, because if I can stay with them, then this race is quickly going to be looking really good. And I want this championship today. I don't want it to go to Brazil. I want it today, especially in my last race before I move house. It'd be very special to me. So as we line up on the grid here now, as we got 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. For the last time in this house here, we're trying to get a very good start. And we get a very good start. This is probably the best start I've actually had this season. On the medium tyre, we're actually getting a better start than quite a few of the soft riders up ahead. So right here now, it's just a case of getting through this turn 1, 2 and 3. So you can see we're leaving plenty of room here. I have Pancakes trying to go down the inside of here, my championship rival from the previous season, who I was battling in this race. We are just going to stay put, manage to maintain position. So this is a perfect start, but this is where it could get a bit sketchy, because there is a lot of side-by-side action, a lot of a caterpillar effect where someone stops and the other guy has to stop behind him. It could really result in damage actually quite easily. And you can see people still going side by side once again, but now they should have settled down, and it's just a case of getting in the rhythm and just trying to be as close as I possibly can, because I know if I can stay as close as I possibly can, then this race can look extremely good for me. And right here now, as I said, I want to win the championship today, of course, but no, at this point going into the race, I think I can't remember, I think it was like a 41 point lead, I think, going into this race or something like that. So even if I just outscore Leopard, it's going to be very hard for him in the remaining 2 races of Brazil and Abu Dhabi. But to be honest, I just really wanted it done today, especially because this is the last race I will do on this rig as well before I switch over to my new wheel. Well, not new wheel, but new sim lab and everything. But you can see here, lap 3, we are 4 thousandths behind the detection point of Perondi, which means we just miss out on the DRS, which is extremely annoying, which means I now have to use a lot of the ERS that I didn't really want to use, because around here it's not actually that easy to harvest your ERS, especially with the wings I'm running 3.8 wings this race here, so opted for a high downforce, good under tyre wear, got my first track validation. And I kind of did that on purpose, knowing that I probably would get one, because I just need to try and get back within the DRS zone to just take a little bit of a risk here. But so far, we are the lead medium runner, actually keeping VRT square on the softs behind quite nicely. And McCabe Sam's 2 seconds behind on the set of mediums. So I think we've had a lot of practice on the alternate strat recently, either intentionally or unintentionally. And I'm driving really well at this stage, driving just with a lot of positivity, a lot of confidence, a lot of consistency, And I just feel really in the zone right now. And this is exactly what I need if I want to win the championship. And the thing is as well, I can see LCR Leopard. I can actually see him on track, which is a big motivation for me. I know if I can just maximize this first stint as much as possible, then I make my championship so much easier in the remaining races if I didn't get it done here today. So moving on to lap 5. We are still in the DRS zone, or just about within the DRS zone. You can see in the previous lap, we got back in that DRS zone by driving pretty nicely. You can see square behind isn't really putting any pressure on me at all. So we're in kind of no man's land, but this is really the perfect place where I'm not under pressure and I'm able to keep with the guys up ahead reasonably comfortably as well. This is really, really good for me. And so far, it's pretty much been a perfect race because I can't really expect to be overtaking any soft runners, as VRT Sparks has actually pitted very, very early. So a lot of people are going to go soft, medium, or you can go soft, medium, soft. I'm going to go medium, soft, and you could even do soft hard, which you might see someone else do later in this race. But see it now, we're in P9 now. A couple of other people have now pitted, so that is not Leopard. Leopard has stayed out. I'm behind Perondi, his teammate. And this is really good once again. I'm not having to use any of the overtake button, any of the ERS, as now Leopard does pit. So he pits at the end of lap break. That's my championship rival. And he has a 3-second penalty as well, which I only just noticed when I was driving past him here. So again, that is a huge thing. If he's already got a penalty and we have so many more laps of this race to go, this is looking really good right now. And again, that just really adds to my confidence even more. As Perondi now pits, so I don't have the luxury of the DRS anymore after this lap. But the good thing is I've saved a lot of my battery. And you can see McCabe Sam is now behind me. And you can see from the Delta, he's actually using a lot of his battery because I know he wants to really get within the DRS zone myself. But I'm not really too bothered about that. I don't mind him getting in the DRS zone. I just don't really want to get into a battle. So you can see we're on 62% ERS at this stage, and we have maintained that for the next 4 laps. I really haven't used it at all. I just didn't want to waste it because ideally I want to come out the pits on these soft tyres with as much ERS as possible. So I was always thinking of the long game, as Clenzo has now pitted, and that's the key in league racing, and that's why I think I do so much better in the race. I'm really thinking of the long game the whole time. So my aim coming into the pits was to come in at about 70-odd%, which we've pretty much done exactly. And now this is where the fun starts. We should be the quickest car on track for the rest of this race. We're going to have 2 sets of fresh, soft tyres here. So we're coming into the pits. McCabe Sam follows us in.
Nice.
Luckily, he hasn't jumped us at all. Clenzo behind will probably jump us, but having a fresher tyres, as I'm going to, a lap fresher and just a fresher softs as well, we should be able to get into the back of him pretty quickly. So this is a really important lap. I'm actually going to show you this full out lap here because you can see the gap is about 1.2 seconds and it's about 5.5 seconds up to the medium runners, which you may think is a huge margin, but the thing is, the tyre compounds around here are about 2 different, and if that makes sense. But basically, it's like me running the ultra soft, and the other guys are like on the mediums. There's 2 compounds of difference. So you can see already we've gained 6 temps on Perondi just in that first sector, and we are already in the DRS zone of Clenzo, who McCabe Sam behind has actually gone for the one-stop strategy of the hard. So hards are a slow tyre, but they're actually very consistent and extremely durable. So he might have a chance of doing well at the end of this race. So we've got to try and pull away from him as much as possible because we are going to have to pit again. But the good thing is here, we've actually managed to catch Clenzo at the perfect time. And although we're a little bit further behind, so we do 2 purple, middle, and then the last sector. I knew here, I turned off the ERS, and then I'm deploying it again because I know I have to get past him. I have to maximise this as much as possible. As we go down the inside, he's not really going to fight it too hard, and this is perfect because now I've still got quite a bit of ERS remaining because I saved a lot coming into the pits. Now I've got the DRS, and you can see we gained almost 2 seconds on the guys up ahead, and just a few laps later we are already on the back of these guys, and Leopard is in that train as well. Leopard is not far ahead. He's only 2 or 3 seconds ahead, and we are due to pit in 8 laps time. This is looking extremely good, and so far strategically we have done the masterclass on the strategy side. But again, I'm not going to take too many risks because we do have a championship at stake. I'm not going to do any dive bombs or anything at all, so probably not as aggressive as I would be if there was nothing at stake. But we just need to use our head and still try and get past these cars as quick as we can, as the virtual safety car has now come out, which is probably a good thing.
Actually, it saves me ERS.
As I just mentioned there, because it does allow me to save a little bit of the ERS. So you can see the ERS is going back up ever so slowly here, making sure we try and get a good restart. But it does mean that we do lose a lap of an overtaking opportunity, so we are within the DRS zone. I'm just going to not really probably use any of the overtake button, as we've got the DRS here. So we're going to use a little bit because actually Clenzo is behind, and then we do turn it off again. So we're going to try and get to the back of him as quick as we can, which we do. And it's crucial now that I try and get past these guys as quick as I can. But as I said before, just remembering we do have a championship at stake. We don't need to go gung-ho. We can't afford any damage, and especially a penalty, because a lot of people are starting to acquire the penalties now. So we're just trying to keep it as consistent as we possibly can. So just try and set Perondi up on the exit of this last corner, trying to get a good exit, and we are right behind him now. So go use the overtake button, and you can see here, I don't think he's fighting this too hard. He knows that the move is pretty much done, so I'm going to use it just so I can get ahead of him. I'm going to go back on the racing line now, and I don't expect him to go down the inside of me here, so I was kind of trusting him not to do that. And now you can see it's LCR Leopard who is up ahead of me, my championship rival, and if I outscore him by 11 points, I believe, then this is the championship. So it's a long way off from that yet, but he does have 3 seconds of penalties. But you can see Square Head has 9 seconds. Clenzo behind has 3 seconds. So a lot of people picking up the penalty. So there's no guarantee of the championship here today. But right now, I'm just looking to be brutal, to just really put one hand on the trophy. Just try and beat him while he is down. While I see he's in a vulnerable spot, try and put as many points between myself and him as much as possible. So I'm just being patient here. Well, I was going to be patient. But coming into this last sector, you can see we've got quite a bit of ERS still to use. So I decided here, you know what, I'm just going to go for it on the exit of this corner. I'm going to put into Rich, into overtake, into DRS, and I know he is going to defend this very hard. So I'm going to just really make him use all of his battery power. That's the plan here, and that's what he does. As you can see, his red light is flashing, so both of us are on very low amounts of the ERS here, and we just have to navigate around Square, just making sure we don't spin him around. You managed to do that pretty nicely, as I'm going for it once again, but he does have the DRS as well. We are both under 10% here, so I'm just going to allow him to have this corner. He goes in very deep. I was thinking about the switch back here as we make a little bit of contact, and yeah, I wasn't too happy with that at the time because I thought I might get damaged, but fortunately I didn't get any damage. He was just trying to prevent me going for the switchback. Nothing dirty or anything, to be honest. He was just trying to prevent it because, no, he's fighting for the championship as well. He's going to try and defend with everything he's got, and I know right now that he is very low on the ERS as well. The same as me. As you can see, his red light was flashing before going into that corner, so he's got no DRS to defend with now, and this is just, the longer this race goes on, the better it's looking for us right now. We've really done a great job so far in terms of getting through the traffic, overtaking at the right time. We're going to use a little bit of the battery power, but we decide to turn it off because there's nothing Leopard could do. He does go defensive, but we just take the racing line, and you can see nothing he can do. We have the superior tyres right now, and now there is a gap ahead of HX4K and Ronha. They both have 6 seconds worth of penalties as well. And I was just thinking to myself, I just want to get as many points as I possibly can to really, really put the nail in this championship. That's really what I was thinking right here, right now. As Jakey B, and I'm not sure who that is, someone else has actually pitted as well. So we're into P3 now. See, Ron Hart and Felipe, we've actually caught them quite a bit on these soft tyres, but we actually go pit the same lap, and I think I'm going to have fresh soft tyres once again for this stint. And Leopard, you can see before he went into the pits, we pulled about 3 seconds on him, and he's going to go into the softs at the end, but he's pitted a lap before us, and I think we're actually going to come out a little bit ahead of him. So we're P7, then it's P9. As we come out of the pits here, we are returned to P9, but I know we are on the fastest tyres. As you can see, Leopard has come to P11. He has 6 seconds of penalties, 3 seconds behind as well. This is looking just so much better. The longer this goes on, the longer I felt like today was the day. As we now catch up to our first victim of VRT Sparks, who pitted very, very early for those mean tyres. You can see Leopard has almost lost 2 seconds to us already. As Ron Hart sets the fastest lap, we're just trying to save our ES as much as possible. We're going to use it for a launch of attack, very similar to what we did to Clenzo. And you can see the red light flashing, so he thinks about defending, but then decides to think better of it. We're into P8, now behind Ron here and Martin. As we skip on to the end of lap 30, we're coming up to my good friend TSRL Martin, who is also on the medium tyre. So there's really going to be no contest really come out of here. So I'm just trying to be as close as I possibly can. And I'm not even going to use any of the ERS because I know me and Martin are good friends. I know he's not going to fight us. There's a little wiggle, which normally signals that he's going to make it pretty easy for me. So I just overtake, not using any of the ERS. And I can see HX4K and Ron Hart, they have a lot of time penalties. And again, to people who say to people that you only do well because you don't get penalties, believe me, it's hard to be fast and not get a penalty. Try it. It is not easy whatsoever. As Leopard is actually pitted because he just had so many time penalties. And again, you can be fast, but if you're not staying on the track, then what is the point of it at all? So he decides to go into the pits. Penultimate lap of this race. We're in P6, up behind McCabe Sam, who did a really good job on this softer hard strategy, but ultimately the tyres are like a 3 compound difference between him and myself right now. So he's really going to be struggling on the grip and on the tyre wear properly as well. And the guys up ahead of him, the leaders are only just there. They're only just crossing the line. So we're very, very close to leading this race as well. He does a little wiggle similar to Martin. He's not going to make it too difficult for me as we go riding board for this entirety of this last lap. And this race, I think, has been managed pretty much perfectly. I could have pitted maybe a little bit earlier for the last stint, but I wasn't really bothered about winning this race. I was just bothered solely about outscoring LCR Leopard, my opponent. That's all I really cared about, to be honest. No, it would have been good to try and go for the win in this race, but I'm not trying to throw everything to do that. I just wanted to make sure I had fresh tyres at the end. They won't go puncture, they won't go wear out. I was just making sure I took the right precautions. But you can see here now, I don't know who else has a penalty up ahead, so I'm in P5. I know I'm going to get P3 at the bare minimum, so I'm pushing now just to see if I can get anything more than this. And right now, I didn't know where LCR Leopard was. I know he has a lot of penalties, but I know everyone else has a lot of penalties behind as well, because it is just so hard to keep it fast and clean on this track. So we're coming off this last corner. Make sure you cue your headphones at some point as we come across the line now. Come on, yes! We come P3, but we don't know. We don't know if this is a championship because Leopard comes across the line and he is out of the points. And cue your headphones once again because I'm about to realise in my group chat that we have done enough. Come on, yes! And we have won TSRL for 2 seasons in a row in the top tier.
That was absolutely nerve-wracking.
And I've enjoyed
definitely
every
it?
single race I've done this season. Every race for me has not been a disappointment. It has always been so fun to take part in. I absolutely love competing in this league, especially with the full quali format. I think it really rewards not just your raw pace over one lap, but just being able to do it when it counts. And that's what I feel is definitely one of my strongest things. I feel myself and the raw one lap speed, there's a lot of people who are quicker than me, no doubt for sure. But when it comes to consistency and being quick in a race without getting damaged, without getting warnings or penalties, by just doing what you need to do when it matters and keeping it consistent the whole time, I feel that is my strength. And that's why I've managed to win this championship once again. I'm just so happy. And I just want to say to everyone who's watched every single stream, who supported every single video, you've helped me so much. There were some very low moments for the likes of Baku's and for many other races as well, where I felt like everything was going against me. You really helped mentally keep me in this championship and got me over the line. So I have to thank you for that. Thank you so much for the support of my channel. I cannot wait to compete next year in this season again. Stay tuned to the car, what it's going to be, because I think you'll really like what the car is going to be. So thank you so much. Thank you to Danny, my teammate, for all the practice and everything as well. And we've done it. 2-time TSRL champion. Feels so good to say that. And I will catch you very soon. Peace.